Hello, I am Dr. Dunnington. I'm going to be your instructor for lecture and lab for Chemistry 1412. That's General Chemistry 2. The purpose of this video is to give kind of a high-level overview about the course. Not any specific assignments, but instead philosophy behind the course, a little bit of information about the class and me, and approach to teaching. So I've been at Lee College since 2019, so I'm finishing up my 7th year here. I like Lee. Its location's pretty unique that we're on the edge of kind of greater Houston, so the service area goes out really far. A lot of folks from Baytown, Highlands, Mount Bellevue, but then also Dayton, Liberty further out, Wallaceville, all sorts of different kind of areas and places where people are coming from. And there's a nice diversity of people, lifestyles, viewpoints. I love meeting students, learning. I always learn new things from students, and that's one of the things I really like about the job. I like working in community colleges. I taught at the University of Wisconsin, where I got my PhD, did some teaching there, and it's just super impersonal to talk to 200 people in a room. And so instead, I thought then from there I went to go to high schools where I'd have small classes, and I did, but I had struggled, I failed miserably at classroom management, so I wasn't really teaching anything. And now I have kind of a nice middle ground where I have small classes, and I'm teaching just the chemistry I was teaching before. So it's exactly what I kind of want to be doing. So I really like it. Outside of work, I like to spend time in nature, go to different places, visit, go to new places, camp, hike, spend time outside. I like to look at wildlife, especially birds. I keep track of all the birds I've seen all over the place. I like seeing birds in places. I have a daughter who's about to turn 2. She goes out with me to some extent, not doing anything too intense yet, but I enjoy spend a lot of time with her as well. And I might hear a dog chewing in the background. He ruined the first take of this, but yeah, he is also, he does a lot of stuff with us as well. Some of you took Chemistry 1 with me. I think most of you did not, and that's totally fine. We will use ideas from Chemistry 1, but I will reference them and talk about them and explain refreshers. I will never use any language like, this is what we did in week 5. Or do you remember that time we did this activity in Chemistry 1? Never will talk about that. Always broad strokes. I will not assume you took Chemistry 1 with me or even at Lee College, just that you have taken Chemistry 1 and are familiar with those. You know what stoichiometry is. You are, aware of what polar molecules are. I'm going to refresh you. This is how we do stoichiometry. This is what a polar molecule is. But I'm going to assume you've seen that before. But I'm not going to say, do you remember when we worked through the stoichiometry problems in October? It's always going to be, just stoichiometry broadly. Same thing for math. Whenever we have any sort of math ideas, we will use logarithms. We use quite a bit more algebra this semester than we did in Chemistry 1. And so I'm always going to walk through that mathematics, not necessarily going to explain to you what a logarithm is, but we will talk about how to use logarithms in the context of solving the equations where they show up or where they're needed in the chemical context. If you ever want to talk to me about the chemistry from Chemistry 1 or any sort of math ideas that we're using, always happy to do that. Or the material we're talking about here in the actual class to kind of get that. But we can certainly brush up on some of those things if we need some additional assistance. There's also tutoring on campus if you prefer that, if you don't want to talk to me about it. Whatever you want to do. This is one of the things about teaching chemistry is a lot of times people view it as like a roadblock. You probably don't want to study chemistry or do a career in chemistry. You want to do something in health sciences, engineering, geology, oil and gas, and you got to take the chemistry to get there to what you want to take. And so one of the things about Chemistry 2 is now that you've taken Chemistry 1, you have a lot of the basic language of chemistry. And so now we can start to apply it to a lot of different things. We're going to kind of expand on ideas that we looked at before and kind of really dig into them. And as a result, and from that, kind of be able to explain how and why things work. So I really try to capture why you need this as a prerequisite, why you now have the ability to talk about the blood inside the person or the oil inside the rocks or the metal you're going to use to build an engine or whatever it is that you're going to do, right? That kind of stuff is what hopefully we'll talk a little bit about this. Now we're going to talk about your particular example, but I try to put in a lot more kind of application or explanations of kind of real world phenomena. Because you now can explain a lot more things with the kind of chemistry knowledge that you have from Chemistry 1 and kind of the expansion we'll talk about here. We do have an online lecture in this class. And so what I do, that means the videos are all just pre-recorded. They're posted on YouTube. You can watch them whenever you want at your own pace, which is the flexibility I like, or I think is the kind of the big benefit of online. At the same time, it's kind of one of the detriments where you can just kind of do it whenever you want to. And so as a result, I put in multiple assignments through the week. So you can watch my views. You can go through lecture and go through the course material at your own pace as long as it's fast enough. If everything was just due Saturday, I would wait to Saturday to start, and that's not a good strategy for learning anything. Chemistry is not too hard. Nothing is a good way to try to learn a week's worth of material in a day. And you got to remember, when you're watching the videos, that's like coming to class and doing lecture, and then you got to still do all the homework and the lab assignments that are part of it. I do also, I'm a big fan of having these assignments throughout the week. 2 of them will be associated with just coming to lecture. So when you log in, you'll see it's like there's a lot of stuff in the gradebook. It's not even all showing up yet. It's a huge gradebook because there's a lot of little assignments to keep you kind of on pace is one of the things. And also because I like I think a good way, the way you learn is by seeing things repeatedly, doing something, not making mistakes, learning from them, and doing it again. So I have a lot of assignments that have increasing stakes. So you're going to do these participation assignments that are associated with lectures. And it's basically like, did you watch the lectures? You just tried some chemistry problems. They're completion based. Then you do the homeworks where you got to get it right, but you have multiple chances to get it right. And then I've started to do quizzes where it's like small on-campus assignments where it's like a test, but it's much lower stakes, it's worth much less, covers less, but it's kind of getting you in. You got to get it right. It's kind of getting you in the mode, and I'm going to give you feedback. Got to get you in the mode of then doing the test. So you've seen all these. We have labs and homework in there, right? You've seen these concepts multiple times. You've been graded multiple times, and making mistakes. It's great to make mistakes on those small assignments. If you make a mistake in a participation, perfect. Doesn't affect your grade, and it's an opportunity to learn, right? So that's the goal of learning. That's how I design these classes. That's like how I've learned to cook recently, or the past few years, and you make mistakes, and then you learn from them, right? And so kind of just build, right? Building that kind of mastery, building knowledge, one little step at a time, one day at a time. We will have on-campus labs Wednesday at 11 a.m. So this Wednesday, January 14th, 11 a.m., room 124 of the Gray Science Building. When we're there, we do need to have personal protective equipment. So we need goggles. I didn't do it in my office this year, so I don't have goggles. But they need to come flush against your face and have a taut strap, not glasses. This is for spill protection. It doesn't splashes on your face. It doesn't get in your eyes. So you're going to want to wear goggles. I do have some extras. You can also get them via the MyBooks program. But I do have some extras that you can use on campus. For PPE, you also need to be covered from shoulders down to ankles. So no midriff showing and no legs exposed. We'll see what the temperature is next week. It's pretty warm in January right now when I'm recording this. But you do want to be sure you're wearing pants. Usually it's cold at the start of the semester in spring, so it's not too hard to have that. But we do need to have that covered. You also have to have closed-toed shoes. So no sandals. The shoes need to cover the top of your foot and wrap around the back. So no clogs, no Crocs. Those are not closed-toed shoes. If you're going to wear flats, they can't be like super ballet flats where it only covers like your toenails. It has to come up onto your foot, fully covering your toes and a little bit more. So we want to have all that covered up. And I don't have any extra shoes, so you need to have the correct shoes in order to do lab. And we're doing a lab activity on Wednesday the 14th. So you want to be sure you have closed-toed shoes and shoulders down to your ankles covered. And I guess all the way to toes, because you got to have closed-toed shoes also. On-campus labs, one of the other things that I like doing in the lab, we're not going to need the full 2 hours for the lab, but we're going to use the full 2 hours. So after we're done with the lab, we're going to go to a classroom where you can work on practice problems. And I have found that this works really well. One, it's just like an opportunity to learn, get more practice with no stakes, right? These aren't graded, it's just participation. But another real value from it is building a sense of community in the hybrid class. You can see your classmates, which is good. And one of the real values is when you take a hybrid, you're like watching videos by yourself. So the only person you're comparing to is me, the person who made the examples and recorded the videos, so I don't really make mistakes. And that's not a good comparison. It's not a fair comparison, right? I wrote it, you're learning it. Of course I'm going to do better. And so, the idea can get a little overwhelming, really kind of negative views for a lot of folks. And so I find when you're in there working through problems and other people are struggling on the same things you're struggling on, it can make you feel less alone and make it feel more like, okay, we're all kind of in this together. And it's possible to learn. It's important to know. It's not like it's just some material is just impossible. But it makes it feel more possible, ironically, when you see other people struggle. That it's not just you who is struggling. And you have opportunity to learn, right? And that's a great opportunity where you can ask me, you can talk to your class, other work together. Really encourage that, working together on stuff. And even if you think you know it, if you go to help someone, that's a really good test of, do you know how to do some particular analysis or kind of problem? Because if you can't explain it to someone else, you don't know it that well. You probably know a process. If it changed a little bit, you might wouldn't be able to figure it out. So working together, teaching, learning with peers is a plus. Trying to foster that. Whatever. That's it for this. The course will open on January 12th. That's Monday. It'll open sometime between like 2 and midnight and 5 a.m. that day. So when you wake up in the morning, I know many of y'all are more night owls. It might not be available right at midnight on the 12th because the courses have to slowly become available. If you think of like the hundreds of courses the college offers, Blackboard is processing them all to make them kind of public. So you will be able to see that. The other thing I should note, I should have put this earlier. There's a new version of Blackboard I'm using. This is this class, my first time using it. If there's some things that don't quite work, let me know. I've tried to make it all work, but I'm still figuring out the new version, Blackboard Ultra. So I'm trying to still get some things figured out and get things kind of looking. Some things look a little ugly. And so I'm still figuring it out. Trying to make it look a little cleaner. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. Otherwise, I'm very excited to start this semester. I hope you are as well. Again, the videos will the class will go live starting January 12th, that's Monday, and then January 14th, 11 a.m., room 124 of the Science Building, we'll meet for actual on-campus lab. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. bdunningston@lee.edu is my email. If you're seeing this, you probably got the email from me. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, weekend, whenever it is you're watching this. Bye-bye.